In the shadow of the original Cold War that gripped the world for nearly half a century, a new global tension is rising. But this time, the battlefield isn't Berlin or Korea. It's the global economy, its trade routes, technology, rare earth minerals, and digital borders. The U.S., Russia, China, and to a growing extent, countries like India, Iran, and even the European Union are locked in what many are calling a new Cold War. This isn't just about ideology anymore. It's about influence, dominance, and who gets to shape the future. Just the original Cold War, setting the stage. Before we dive into today's complex geopolitics, let's rewind. The original Cold War, spanning from 1947 to 1991, was a tense standoff between the capitalist United States and the communist Soviet Union. It was marked by proxy wars, nuclear arms races, espionage, and fierce competition over global influence. The world teetered on the edge of annihilation more than once. But in 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed and the U.S. emerged as the world's undisputed superpower. The Cold War ended, or did it? Fast forward 30 years, and many argue the ideological war never really ended. It just evolved. The rise of the multipolar world. Since the 2000s, we've seen a shift from a unipolar world, dominated by the U.S., to a multipolar world, where power is more evenly distributed. China has emerged as a global economic juggernaut. With its Belt and Road Initiative, it's investing billions in infrastructure across Asia, Africa, and Europe. Russia, under Vladimir Putin, has reasserted itself militarily in Ukraine, Syria, and beyond. India has become a key geopolitical player, walking a tightrope between East and West. Meanwhile, the European Union, though divided, remains economically powerful. This isn't just about military strength, it's about trade, data, technology, and economic influence. As the trade wars begin, U.S. versus China. Let's talk trade. In 2018, then U.S. President Donald Trump launched a full-scale trade war against China. Billions in tariffs were slapped on Chinese goods. China responded with its own tariffs, especially targeting U.S. agriculture. What started as a battle over trade imbalances quickly turned into something much bigger. A clash over who controls global manufacturing, intellectual property, and high-tech industries. The U.S. accused China of stealing intellectual property, forcing technology transfers, and manipulating its currency. China accused the U.S. of trying to contain its rise. This wasn't just a skirmish over iPhones or soybeans. It was about who controls the 21st century. Technology and the new arms race trade is just one front. Technology is another. Huawei, TikTok, semiconductors, AI, these are the new nuclear missiles of the modern age. The U.S. banned Chinese tech giants from operating freely. It pressured allies to keep Huawei out of 5G networks. It also began restricting the export of advanced semiconductors to China. Why? Because whoever controls advanced technology controls the future. China, meanwhile, is doubling down on its own tech industry. It's investing in AI, quantum computing, and chip manufacturing at breakneck speed. This isn't just about innovation. It's about digital sovereignty and technological dominance. Russia. The wounded bear strikes back. While the U.S. and China wrestle for economic supremacy, Russia has taken a different path. In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea. In 2022, it invaded Ukraine. The West responded with sweeping sanctions, cutting Russia off from SWIFT, freezing assets, and targeting its energy sector. But Russia adapted. It found new trading partners in China, India, and the Middle East. It sold oil and gas in yuan and rupees. It deepened its ties with BRICS countries to build an alternative to Western dominance. Russia may be economically weaker than China or the US, but it's willing to use force and energy as weapons. It thrives in a world of chaos. The tariff world, protectionism, rising. Globally, tariffs and protectionism are back. The US has reshored manufacturing, pushed Buy American policies, and blocked Chinese investments in key sectors. China has responded in kind, promoting dual circulation, reducing its reliance on foreign markets. India has slapped tariffs to boost Make in India. The EU is proposing carbon border taxes to protect its industries. This return to economic nationalism mirrors the interwar period of the 1930s, where countries turned inward, leading to depression and conflict. The global consensus on free trade is fracturing, and that's dangerous. Alliances reconfigured, NATO, BRICS, and the rest. Just like the Cold War, alliances matter. The US has strengthened NATO, expanded its Pacific partnerships like AUKUS and the Quad, and deepened ties with Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines. China and Russia, meanwhile, are cozying up. The BRICS bloc, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is trying to become a counterbalance to the G7. Even neutral countries are being forced to pick sides, economically or diplomatically. This isn't just about military alliances. It's about trade deals, data flows, energy, and access to markets. Geo-economic weapons, sanctions, currency wars, and SWIFT. In this new Cold War, economics are the primary weapons. The West uses sanctions to punish, targeting banking, energy, and elites. But sanctions don't always break regimes. They can create alternative systems. China is pushing to de-dollarize global trade. The digital yuan is part of that plan. Russia is trading in non-dollar currencies. BRICS nations are discussing a new global currency. The global financial order, long dominated by the US dollar, is under threat. And that could upend everything. Cyber, espionage, and information wars. In the original Cold War, spies wore trench coats. Today, they sit behind screens. Cyber attacks on pipelines, power grids, banks, and even hospitals are now common. Russia has been blamed for major cyber operations. China is accused of wide-scale data theft. The US and its allies have their own cyber capabilities and aren't shy about using them. Meanwhile, the information war rages on. State-backed media, bot farms, and online propaganda shape public opinion globally. Truth is now a battlefield. The Cold War goes green. Climate geopolitics. Even climate change is now geopolitical. The energy transition toward renewables and electric vehicles relies on rare earth minerals. Guess who controls much of that supply? China. The West wants to lead the green revolution but is dependent on Chinese batteries, solar panels, and materials. This is the new oil war. Meanwhile, countries argue over who should bear the cost of climate action. The Global South demands reparations. The Global North demands transparency. Climate cooperation is fragile, and competition is fierce. What this means for the average person. So how does all this impact you? Trade wars mean higher prices for everyday goods. Sanctions mean energy volatility. Tech restrictions lead to device shortages. Currency instability threatens savings. Economic nationalism can cause job shifts. And worst of all, when great powers clash, smaller nations suffer. This new Cold War isn't just a game for politicians. It shapes your job, your bills, and your future. This new global standoff won't look exactly like the last one. There may not be nuclear standoffs or Berlin walls, but make no mistake, we are in a new era of competition, mistrust, and strategic rivalry. The hope? That cooler heads prevail, that we find ways to compete without collapsing the global system, that diplomacy can coexist with deterrence, because while history may rhyme, it doesn't have to repeat. Thanks for watching. If you found this deep dive into the new Cold War insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments.